You know, we've talked before about influencer culture. Just everyone's an influencer now, which is an ironic thing for me to say with a slightly negative tone of voice, given that I do a show on social media and stuff like that. But I more mean people who probably should be spending their time doing something else in politics, and they choose to do a podcast with no significant traction, we'll say. And I'm referring to Ted Cruz came into my mind. Why does Ted Cruz need to do a podcast? And he obsesses over it. And then Rudy Giuliani. We just talked about how he's in just terrible situation financially, in bankruptcy court, being shut down by a judge as he's yelling because it got so out of hand just yesterday. Well, instead of just trying to get his ducks in a row and sort his life out, now he's launching a show on Mike Lindell's platform, Frank Speech. Think about this cocktail of variables, okay? Rudy Giuliani, with all this going on, he owes hundreds of millions of dollars in defamation suit-related damages. Then FrankSpeech.com, and one of his first guests is Kari Lake. So just a really bad combination of things coming together, and it was not great. So first, before getting to the Kari Lake part of this, I'll show you Rudy Giuliani introducing his show.
Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani with the Rudy Giuliani Show. Welcome. It's nice to have you back. And into a week that almost seems like a continuation of last week. Sometimes the weekends create a separation, and it's either a new story or it's a new variation. It seems like we've been having the aftermath of this debate for about a year now. Right. This is about the...
So these are not cuts because of our internet or anything. This is on Frank's speech, just cutting around, which makes it even more frightening, sort of a jump scare when his face is all of a sudden different. But not the most shocking thing in the world that FrankSpeech.com has some glitchy issues. And let's just check in. Since the launch of the show, 52 subscribers. So picking up steam there. Just a lickety-split pause to request you, if you're not already, to subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking that subscribe button. So easy and free, but it makes all the difference in the world. Appreciate it. Back to the video. And then he brings on Kari Lake. And I've said I try not to criticize people's style, because what's important is how disastrous their policies are, their ideology. So with Rudy Giuliani, that's the case. But do note how disjointed and strange the dynamic is during this conversation. One of the reasons is he doesn't understand that while someone else is talking, if they're on a delay, don't do the normal thing you do in person, which is sometimes go, yeah, oh, America, God bless. Because then every time you speak over them, the audience is confused and it's happening at the wrong time. And that's what he really struggled with here.
A donation or you can sign up to get involved. There you go. You're showing it right now.
Good, beautiful.
You can find out much more. You can get involved in the campain, and
Stop
let's
complaining
save
and
our state.
Give money to Kari Lake.
Stop complaining and start working.
Stop complaining.
Well,
she's
you know what?
She could be our best
Let me be
candidate.
honest. There's a lot to complain about. We're all suffering. And my message to the people of Arizona, and frankly of this country, we are actually much more united than the media tells us. The media, Rudy, they have to have us like this, or they cease to exist. And I believe, because I'm all over the state, I'm all over the country, this country is much more united than the media lets on to. I think the vast majority want a secure border, a strong economy. We want a great energy sector. We want affordable housing. And they have to make us believe that we're divided. The America First agenda is for all Americans. It's not a Republican agenda. It's for all Americans. And so, I welcome independents in. Disaffected Democrats, come on in if you want to have your streets secure.
God bless
you want to be able to have quality of life. Ruben Gallego is against all of
Okay, Ruby guy goes against quality of life. What just happened? Number one, don't say that while she's talking. Yes, we agree with you, Kari. Don't interrupt her so much. I mean, do interrupt her. It's Kari Lake, but if you're trying to make it a more synergized show, that would be my advice there. By the way, before playing this next clip, two things. First, I saw someone say, what a career arc with Rudy Giuliani. From being, as I mentioned in the last segment, at the top of reputational status whenever he was New York mayor, 9/11, the crisis, sort of surge in popularity, and that he chose to just dump in the trash with his loyalty to Trump, and that has spiraled him all the way to no longer even being a lawyer in a lot of places. He keeps being disbarred, and not having respect in America, and being hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, more legal troubles to come, indicted twice for trying to block the peaceful transfer of power through fraudulent means, and doing a show on frankspeech.com, the My Pillow Guys platform. 52 subs, which I say with love and respect, and interrupting Kari Lake as you're doing a show. It is quite the career arc, all right? Stars fall, I guess. And then the second point is, how dare Kari Lake talk about America first being a unifying vision for what's ahead. The things she listed totally sound fine. Secure border, energy production, strong economy, affordable housing. But that's not what y'all stand for. That's the problem. You lie like you just did. And what you stand for is a man, Trump, and an ideology, MAGA, that wants something like Project 2025, rolling back rights, deteriorating checks and balances, centralizing control for the president so they can weaponize their power against their enemies, and Trump being able to do things that no president should be able to do, like shut down and go after media outlets that he doesn't like. And also, even just focusing on the election, I've said before, and I promise we'll get to this next clip, but unity is good, but unity for unity's sake is not. Just unity just so you're united. Well, what are you united around? What are you united for? And that's why you have to unite around some basic fundamental principles. And that's why really, really bad people throughout history, we would all agree we shouldn't have united with fill in the blank with the worst people you can think of. So just as an extreme example, you can illustrate the point I'm making with history. But then in this current moment, we want to unite with Republicans, independents, and Democrats alike in favor of a foundational principle that we respect our democracy. Can you join us with that, Kari Lake? Oh, you can. Okay, so unfortunately, then I don't want to unite with you. But if you do want to start respecting our democracy again, then we can disagree on policy positions, but we can have some unification around that principle. But see, that's what MAGA is so brutally deteriorating. I did a segment where we went through and looked at concession speeches and victory speeches in elections, and while big differences in policies that matter, and I'll get heated debating those policies, they matter. But there was an understanding that at the end of the day, whoever won, they'd respect our democracy, the other side on a basic level, and would try to govern for the country. And so you would hear that in speeches, mutual respect for either side. That doesn't mean that our political process was just fantastic and everything was going great. No, but on that issue, people were able to unite around the value of our democracy. That's what's so existential about this moment. Otherwise, because we know, for example, Biden would respect our democracy, even if these Republicans don't like Biden's policies, God forbid he gets another term and invests more in infrastructure or expands healthcare more for veterans. That gives you a good sense. Whereas Trump could fundamentally kneecap our democracy and destabilize the world. So we do want to unite, but not with people who don't share those fundamental principles. And if you ever change your mind, then come on to our side. Here's more.
This is their thinking. That was way back 40 years ago. But I mean, this is the way the Democrats think. They like criminals. Sorry.
We like criminals, and that's why under Democratic rule over the last few years, we've seen one of the fastest plummets in crime in American history.
Kari, how are you? Do I have you here?
There
you
we are. Sorry, we were just trying to log in.
How's it going? How do we do? We're gonna beat this guy, this crazy nut. I don't know whether to call him a Marxist or a communist.
Well, I think.
I'm sorry, everyone. Can I see this again?
Kari, how are you? Do I have you here?
There you are. Sorry, we were just trying to log in.
How's it going? How do we do? We're gonna beat this guy, this crazy nut.
Yikes.
I don't know whether to call him a Marxist or a communist.
Well, I think Marxist, both of them work. When you look at his voting record, why don't you just call him a Joe Biden mini-me? Because I don't think anybody out there believes that Joe Biden's policies have been 100% good for America. I mean, I think they've been 0% good for America. But Ruben Gallego votes with Joe Biden's policies 100% of the time. And you can fact check that one. 100% of the time, he thinks that Joe Biden has great ideas. And frankly, here in Arizona, we're suffering, I think you could argue, the most in any state with the wide open border. You know, Ruben Gallego says the border wall is dumb and stupid. He's voted in support of sanctuary states and cities. He said he would never, ever, ever fund the border wall, wants to give amnesty and asylum and voting rights to everybody who's poured across in the Biden invasion. And he wants to defund the police on top of it, plus his bad ideas when it comes to the economy.
It's so unfortunate having to watch these because it's just quick how fast she'll rattle off those lies. If he's voted 100% with Biden's record, then that means he's supported Biden's efforts to fund law enforcement more. Biden overseeing the largest federal investment in public safety, law enforcement, and violence reduction. And then the border, he doesn't want to give voting rights to any undocumented immigrants. That is just ridiculous. And again, it doesn't seem MAG Republicans these days are too serious about serious solutions when it comes to the border. But here's another thing. It's interesting when they'll do the whole, this person voted with Biden this percentage of the time, and that's why they're so terrible. When the biggest concerns with Biden, it seems in this current moment, are not policy related, but perception related, right? Competence and communication skills. And so I think the strongest case you can make for Biden is just going, let's go on paper. Let's just say what has gotten done on his watch. And that's the strongest case you can make. So saying he voted with him a lot is actually a good thing, because what particular policy is Kari Lake saying that Ruben Gallego shouldn't have voted for? I shouldn't, but I want to start going. Lowering prescription drug costs, the veterans healthcare expansions, the ACA expansions, the huge historic infrastructure job creation investments, the massive manufacturing job boom related policies, the investments in law enforcement that I just mentioned, the investments in renewable energy that is cheaper for consumers and better for the planet. I know there's some things that Kari Lake would be against, but those things are actually popular. And so I think it's perfectly fine that Gallego voted along party lines with Biden, because the agenda items with many of the concerns you have about Biden have been really, really strong. And that's the case we've been making on the show for some time. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. Are you going to be tuning in on frankspeech.com daily to be watching Rudy Giuliani's show? And if you want to get the extra episode of the show daily, you can do so by clicking the join button below.